We've been looking at love and relationship and how God intended that love would flow through you through this vehicle called relationship. And as we were together last time, we looked at the words transparency and vulnerability, security and trust. These are all ingredients to a healthy relationship. In fact, if you allow those four things to grow in a relationship, it creates something called intimacy, because it allows you to be free to be yourself without that sense of judgment or condemnation. You don't have to be afraid of what the other is thinking about you. And as sharing last week, that's what the cross does. The cross brings us before the Father without any condemnation or guilt or judgment, because through the blood of Jesus, it has cleansed you. So when God looks at you, He doesn't see bad, He doesn't see sin. He sees one that He loves. He sees the one that He created before the foundation of the world. He sees the image and likeness of God that He put inside of you. And so when we begin to understand relationship being the key, I also talked about how relationship often is the thing that destroys our ability to relate. It destroys our desire for intimacy. So how does intimacy get destroyed? And there's really one word that I want to bring to you, and that word is shame. You know, when I look at the story in Genesis and Adam and Eve in the garden, and they were just enjoying the fullness of God, the glory of God around them, and then they suddenly were presented with taking of the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you begin to see this moment where from one moment they were full of glory, and the next moment they were full of shame. In fact, in Habakkuk 2 verse 16, it says, "You'll be filled with shame instead of glory." Glory is what you were supposed to receive, but shame is the consequence of what happened, of what we call the fall. And you see, when I begin to define shame, I begin to simply say that shame is the wrongness of being. Or in other words, there's something wrong with me. And the moment you ask that question, is there something wrong with me, you question your value. You question your worth. You question your significance. You question your acceptance. You don't know, am I truly made in the image and likeness of God? It's like you could have this beautiful crystal vase. It could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, and then one day you actually knock it over and it creates a crack. And so instead of displaying it where you normally do, you take that crack and you kind of put it against the wall so nobody sees it, because you feel that if they saw the crack, it devalues that vase. Well, in the same sort of way, that's what shame does with our human condition. It allows us to look at ourselves and says there's something not quite right. And all of a sudden, we no longer see the glory of who we are. We just see the negativity or the things that aren't quite right. Have you noticed that you could get 1,000 compliments and one criticism, and you tend to focus on the criticism? You see, when we begin to realize this journey of becoming the best you, we need to begin to unpack the area of what your shame may look like. There's something wrong with me. For me, it was failure. It wasn't being not good enough. And you don't go around displaying your shame. You go around trying to hide it. That's why we turned that vase. That's why Adam and Eve hid themselves in the bushes and put on leaves and tried to cover themselves. You see, in that nature, as we look over these next few weeks, we're going to unpack the nature of shame and begin to resolve the issue of shame in your life so that you could become glorious again, that you could become the best you. But while we question that, we will never be able to display the light that God created in you. This is Steve Chua, uncovering the glory of God, not your shame.